real smooth like Gary Coleman. Gonna be real.
Welcome back, everyone. It's me, Joy, on AskJMO for our second season, and we're going to get it started off with talking with Maribeth Knight, who's running for District 6 School Board. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to go ahead and just take this time to give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you're running for.
Okay, again, my name is Maribeth Knight, and I'm running for School Board District 6. I am running mainly because of bullying. We have personally been dealing with a lot of that this past year. It's causing a lot of mental health with my children. I feel like that as a parent, it's my job to step up and try to protect my children. I have tried like so many different ways, and this is the only way I feel like I can accomplish that. And not just help my children, help other people's children. I have seen and heard so many stories that is just ridiculous. And I feel like that on the scoreboard, we don't have that voice for our parents and our children. So that's my main reason for running.
All right, thank you. So I sent you a couple of questions.
Yep.
So it doesn't mean I'm going to ask you in that order. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay.
But let's just jump right into it, okay?
Okay.
So you said you got involved due to bullying. So
Yes.
Can you please give me your definition of bullying?
My definition is when someone is pretty much like if it's a continuously thing. Like I will use an example like my son. He was made fun of by the color of his skin over and over and over again by the exact same children. So it's when someone is constantly picking on you or doing things to you that makes you feel uncomfortable consistently and not stopping. That's what I feel like bullying.
Okay. And so the reason why I asked you is what is your definition of bullying? Because like you said, it can be happening in the school, but if a teacher does not consider it bullying or administration doesn't consider it bullying, but you as a parent considers it bullying, where do we draw that line? So with you being on the school board, would you be able, or do you know if you would be able to draw a clear definition of what bullying actually is?
Yeah, actually there is a document. It's called INS-F111, and this document is pushed by the state, and it's a bullying related act. And in this act, it states what bullying is from like the state definition, which is almost exact what I just said.
Okay.
So it is also in the code of conduct. So when you look online, there is a definition that's there for them. And in my opinion, there has been certain situations where I felt like my child was being bullied. And in my thoughts, it is like it was the same type of things, but by different people. So one day it was this person, one day it's, somebody else, the next day, but it was the same type of things. Right. So I feel like that as a parent in the school board and the administration, if we have a situation like that, besides just cutting off the parent completely, be like, no, that's not our definition and that's the end of it, they need to actually sit down and have a discussion. Like, okay, obviously it's not done by the same person, but it is being done by multiple people. Let's see if we can figure out how we can prevent this from continuously happening.
Right, because now the child is being targeted. And
yes.
So because it's not happening from just one person, but from several others, now he
yes.
is a target for many to continue the same behavior. Yeah. And so with that, I am a mother. I have 2 teenage boys who are pushing me to my limits.
I understand that.
And so for them, sometimes I try to step back. And, if I overhear conversations or they're telling me about a situation, sometimes as mothers, we can, kind of hover and we want to protect them from the world, right? So this is truly me playing devil's advocate. So we understand that our children may be getting targeted or bullied. but it's a huge thing about environment in our settings. And so having the time or a safe place to talk with our children about, okay, I understand this person is doing this to you. Do you have to be around them? Like, what are you doing to prevent this from happening? And not saying that they have to take on that ownership of preventing the bullying.
Yeah.
Because if someone's going to target you, they're going
They're
to
going to target
right?
you. Yeah.
But also, what can they do? Basically giving them that autonomy and just feeling as if they have power in the situation to help them recognize choices they can also make to be in a safer environment. So how would you try to really implement that through the school board?
I think just being present, and I'm planning on actually being in the schools
Okay.
and having those conversations with the children. You know, I'm just like you. I have these conversations with my kids. I talk to them. Some parents don't. So their only means of communication or learning how to communicate that type of stuff is at school. So I feel like that our teachers and our staff need to be, and no, it's not their job, but, they can't learn if they're suffering. So I feel like just having that discussion and knowing the signs. There's a lot, like my children, I know my children. So when I can tell something, like my daughter did not want to tell me when stuff was happening to her, but I knew her. So I'm like, okay, she's acting this way. So there's something going on. I feel like our teachers and staff need to be trained on that. So when they notice, okay, this child is acting out, I'm noticing this child is doing this, we need to have a conversation with that child besides just automatically being like, oh, this is going on, or you're not supposed to be doing this. So I think it's just discussing with people. And I don't want to use the word role model, but that's the best way that I can describe this. I feel like that having a parent like myself on the school board and showing other parents, hey, this is how I communicate. This is how, doing things like this. Using social media for actually a positive thing and allowing kids to like, okay, this is how we communicate. This is how we need to, do this in the right way. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes. And so it leads me into another question that I sent you in regards to if you have resistance or maybe someone's objecting. Let's say, you get elected and you're part of the school board and you run into resistance from other members on the school board in regards to your strong, passionate views about the bullying and implementing some very supportive, encouraging mental health services in place. What if you have resistance? How are you going to handle that adversity?
It's going to happen. Not everybody thinks the same. People's going to automatically think that I'm only just on children's side or I'm only on this side. I know that's going to happen. My plan is to make myself as clear as I can be. Like, hey, this is what I'm standing for. I don't agree to this. You don't have to agree with it, or vice versa. And also, like I said, the role model thing, just showing other people, okay, it's okay to disagree, but this is my stand. This is what I feel like is best for my child and other children. And this is what feel like needs to happen. If it doesn't happen, then I'm not going to stop fighting. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I'm fighting for our children. I'm fighting for our teachers. So it's going to happen. People's going to disagree. It's just showing our children and our teachers it's okay to disagree. This is how we do it in a positive light.
Okay. So no parent wants to hear their kid's a bully, right? Or no one wants to hear that they have a mean kid. I know I have a mean kid. I tell him he's mean all the time. He's not a bully. He just very mean kid sometimes, not all the time. But when you have these situations, let's say, with your daughter, you said she was being bullied. So you all come to the table to have a meeting and the parent is like, my child wouldn't do that. She's not a bully, or he's not a bully. How do we move forward in those discussions?
Just like you, I have 7 kids, so I have one child that is the bully, I guess you can say. So I have had to experience that before. I think a lot of us parents need to realize that their kids are going to act different around other people than what they do themselves. And I will encourage the parent, okay, you come sit in the classroom, or why don't you, if you don't believe what I'm doing or what I'm, saying, what your child is doing, then I invite you to come in and sit with me and help me. I say this it takes a village to raise a kid. I truly believe that. It takes a community, not just family and friends. So I feel like that if the teachers are open-minded, like, hey, I need your help. Like this, your child is not doing what they should be at school, and I need you to intervene. There is going to be instances where parents are not going to want to do it.
Right.
And that is, we can only do so much, and that's going to happen. I just feel like, maybe we need to open more of a dialogue, more of a positive communication, and try our best. And if a child is continuously doing it and the parent is not listening, then we got to do what we got to do. Follow the code of conduct. If that kid needs to be suspended or needs to go to, in-school suspension, then that needs to happen. We need to follow the code of conduct and stick to it. So whether the parent is fighting or not, we need to be like, okay, we asked you to come in and watch your, and see what your child is doing. We are telling you there's multiple write-ups. This is all we can do. And I feel like that if we make it inconvenient for the parents, I guess you can say, in a way, and then they'll be like, okay, wait, something needs to change. Something is definitely happening.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully. It's not, like I said, it's not going to be, I can't fix everything. The school board won't be able to fix everything. The state can't fix anything. It's just, the point of trying and keep fighting and try to, be those positive role models for our teachers and our students.
Okay. Thank you for that response. So I was able to check you out on Facebook for a little bit, just for you, because I'm really not a big Facebook user. But so I did get a chance to hear some of your platform. And so I remember hearing you discussing bullying amongst the teachers.
Yes.
And so how do we address that?
Our teachers feel like they have no voice. Almost every teacher I've talked to has said this. I've even had a teacher say, at what point do we call it bullying when a child is bullying us? Getting constantly hit by a child, constantly yelled at, cussed at. And that's where that form I told you about, the INS-F111, comes in play, because that will protect everybody. So if a teacher fills it out against a child or a administration, they can even do administration with administration. It goes all around. So letting that out, and that's why I've been talking about it so much, to allow the teachers to know they do have a voice. They do have this paper that they can fill out to, get the steps going. It is brought down by state, so it's mandatory for it to be accomplished and the investigation to be started within 48 hours. So I think having that for the teachers and let the teachers know that they do have a voice, they don't have to just keep dealing with it, will help out tremendously.
Okay. And so with the form, I mean, I've worked for different entities within Tennessee. And so, yes, there's always a form.
Always.
There's always a way that things are supposed to be done. And there's not supposed to be backlash. Things happen that doesn't technically fall under backlash, but it's definitely backlash. So how do we monitor that from happening to make sure that these teachers feel they have a safe space to identify when they are being bullied?
And that's why I feel like that the school board needs to step up on. I feel like that is our job as a school board. It doesn't matter, if we only hire one person as a director. No, we're the school board. We are what passes things for the school, for the school to be successful. So I feel like having us, like I said, I want to be in the classrooms, walk around the school, help the teachers, do things like that. Let them know that they do have a voice and that we do have their back as well. I think will also help them a lot. And just being present, or if, I see something happen, like, hey, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. And then it's another voice for that person. So I really do believe that if the school board as a whole steps up together and actually, do our job and go through the schools and support our teachers, talk to our teachers, and, if we see that something's not happening, then we need to be their voice as well as for our children.
Okay, so I think I only have about 2 more questions in regards to bullying, then we're going to try to transition a little bit to the mental health aspect. So you said having someone be present at the school. That can also be considered a bullying tactic for, someone may say, a well-seasoned teacher, because they feel as if, oh, you're just here to see what I'm doing and what I'm not doing versus the support. So how do you present what you're stating in a positive way for all the teachers to be receptive to it and administration, instead of feeling like, oh, this is a babysitting tactic. You're just coming after my job. You're trying to remove me. You're trying to say I'm not a good teacher. Because just depending on how long they've been in education and all of the things that they've been through, they may not feel that this is a true effort into support.
I'm all of the teachers I've talked to are very open to this ideal because of the things that's going on in the classroom that is not being taken care of. But I'll probably find a couple teachers who will not agree with that, and I'm not going to force it on them. And that is their classroom. If they do not feel comfortable, if they feel like it's a situation like that, my whole point in running is against bullying. If someone feels like that is a tactic, that they feel like that I'm attacking them or trying to do, I'm not going to make them feel uncomfortable.
What you're saying is you personally, not like a system set up where we have these different people coming through to monitor. You're saying
no,
you
me personally.
Okay.
Yeah, if it becomes a thing where people really want that, then yeah, we should have that system. But me personally, no, I'm all in for it. I'm ready to be that person to go in there and be like, hey, I'm here to help you. What do you need me to do? That's what my job will be. I mean, I'm a school board member, not just passing stuff and being a button pusher. I'm not a politician. I'm a mom that's really out here for not just my kids, but also for these teachers. They have our kids 40% of the time. Like they're raising our kids just as much as we are. So it's our job to, be in there. And if they feel uncomfortable, I won't do it.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of schools to cover.
I have a lot of time.
So do you feel like, I have my own opinion, but do you feel like the bullying stage is more predominant in one age group, like the elementary, middle versus high?
Mainly middle and high. My elementary school kids are not, I mean, every now and then they get a little,
Right.
they think bullying is someone saying, oh, you have,
Yeah.
you stole my crown or something. Yeah. But it's mainly in middle school and high school. That's where I'm seeing it personally, and also with the parents who have came to me.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. So let's transition to the mental health piece. So a lot of the adolescents that I do provide services to, a huge thing for them is once we get their environment more structured, or even just a shift in small things of their environment, their behavior and their perspective on things often change. And so that is huge for someone's mental health, is their environment. So how would you suggest on creating these safe and healthy environments for these children?
That's a good question. I get my thoughts together on that one. It all starts at the home, trying to figure out how I can use personal with this. I also go through therapy. I do have mental health injuries, as I'll call them, due to some trauma. And it is a very difficult thing to get out of that mindset and to look forward to something, a little bit more happier and healthier. I feel like that we need to have more of the mental health help inside of our schools. Yes, I know there's guidance counselors. Yes, I know that they have programs and stuff. But I feel like that it needs to be more available for these kids at more times. So when they are having a hard time with the transition, then there's someone there. I also believe that our teachers need to be trained more on how to identify mental health and how to handle it without centering out that child. I work with my children on breathing techniques all the time. And I feel like that if, especially in elementary school, if they are noticing that someone is having a hard time transition, besides just pointing out that children and be like, hey, let's do this, do it all together as a class. And it will help, with not only that one child, but it's also teaching the whole class on techniques on how to handle anxiety and depression and different things.
Okay. And so I know you also mentioned on your platform about getting IEPs and 504s in place. And so sometimes people feel like it's a negative connotation if you have an IEP or a 504, and that's not always the case. Sometimes they're just in place to give that child that extra assistance that's needed. It doesn't mean that they should have this negative stigma. So share with us, like, what your hopes are or what your plan is in regards to these IEPs and 504s.
I have 4 children that has IEPs, everything from speech to autism and anxiety, ADHD. I feel like that the accommodations are not met because the teachers are not aware. There's a lot of things, like my daughter has really bad anxiety and autism, and she needed fidgets in class and stress balls. She also had a pass that when she started getting really bad anxiety, she's just to hold it. The teacher knows the color of it, knows what it means. She's able to get out without any disruption and go to the guidance counselor and take a break. One of her teachers was not aware of that. It was not a sub, it was a regular teacher. It was in the middle of the year, and she held up the paper and she didn't know what it was and called her out in the middle of the class, which caused the anxiety to get worse. So I think a lot of it is just making the teachers aware. Okay, if you have an inclusion class, you should know, okay, these kids are what, has the IEPs or even the aids, because there's always an aid in the inclusion classes. They need to know exactly what is on their IEPs, even if you have to carry a notebook around that has it written down, because I know there's a lot of children, especially in middle school and high school, that you have to, deal with that has these. So just being aware, being trained on it, knowing how to handle those situations, I think will help a lot when it comes to IEPs. And just letting kids, like my son, he said something about the SPED kids. And I was like, don't call them that. Mm-hmm. So we need to let our kids aware that this is not, it's okay. It doesn't mean, I don't like the word disability. I don't like the word like mental illness. That's why I say mental injuries. We need to educate people. And just like we have, our sex ed classes and things like that, we need to have classes on this too, to educate our children, to let them know, hey, doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. Their brain just works differently. So I think a lot of it's just education. We just got to educate our family and things like this. So thank you so much for having this podcast, because this is bringing out a lot of awareness to people who don't know. Right. It's not that they, a lot of people just don't know. Right. So that's the main thing, is just education. We need to educate our, teachers and the staff and even the janitors. They all interact with the children. They need to know how to identify these things.
Okay. And so what I've seen, because I'll say just for me personally, mm-hmm. I am that parent that, initially when the year begins, I'm going around to every teacher, especially with my youngest. I know he's tired of me doing it, but once we figured out a system in place mm-hmm. that will help him better to be more successful in the classroom, then I make sure every teacher knows, like, mm-hmm. hey, this is how he does. He's going to be a great student, but this is something that he doesn't do well in. If you have a problem, call me. If you don't call me, I cannot assist. Mm-hmm. You can't wait till after the fact, because I've already shared with you. We have to address it in the moment. Mm-hmm. And it's not for them to stop teaching, but it's just, hey, I know how my son behaves, so let me help you to continue with your classroom, and let's remove the distraction, even if it's my son. Mm-hmm. And so getting parents more engaged with you on the school board, is there a way that you could create these spaces to actually have these trainings for parents? Because what you don't know is what you don't know. But once you're made aware, what are you going to do about it, right? And so you may not be aware that your child is suffering from some type of mental health concern, mm-hmm. That they may be suffering from anxiety, that there may be small things that are affecting them at school that doesn't happen at home, because home is a completely different environment. Mm-hmm. And so is it possible with you being on the school board to create this space, maybe these monthly meetings, just to have like a mental health check-in or a mental health first aid? Because mm-hmm. they do offer mental health first aids to all of the teachers, but what you don't know or what you choose not to in place, help, is if you have to go through the course, but you're not paying attention or you don't think it's mm-hmm. necessary, are we doing more damage and creating an unhealthy environment, which could be avoided? So what could you do on the school board? I'm sorry, I gave you a whole bunch of information. Yeah. But what could you do on the school board to promote or create a safe space for parents to learn how to create a safe space for their children?
Just like you said, it can be done where we can have these monthly meetings, and I can do it like if I can get other school board members involved, we can do it outside of the school. We can do the town halls. I'm planning on doing a lot of things like this, like just letting people know, different things that is available, because I did not know that was available to teachers. Thank you for giving me that information. Transparency is another big one.
Yes.
So yeah, like that's actually a really good idea to create these town halls and to create these little monthly meetings that parents can be involved in. And that's another thing that I see a big struggle in is parent involvement. And going back to what I said a while ago, being that role model, being that parent, that's finally stepping up and doing something might, I'm hoping that it creates a wave where there's multiple parents that is running for other districts as well. And having that would create a wave of parents like, okay, someone finally cares. Someone is finally stepping up. This is a parent. She understands, So I'm hoping that will bring that wave in where we can stand up together and be like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is the signs. These are the things. I also know a doctor personally. He has endorsed me, Dr. Griffin from Cornerstone Pediatrics. He has even offered to do free classes on training people on how to, teachers and parents, on how to identify these things. So yeah, having monthly meetings or even, every 3 months meetings or town halls where we can get together and hopefully get everybody involved will be a great ideal. And that's something I definitely could do.
And that definitely sounds great. And so the only caveat I would give to that is just make sure, like, when you do these, make sure they know that it's not cookie cutter. Like, this is the basics,
Yep.
but it doesn't mean that just because you see these signs that what your child's experiencing, because we all go through different things. We all process things differently. We could be in the same car accident, but how you process it and how I process it are going to be completely different. Even though we're both exhibiting the same signs, it doesn't mean your impact is the same as my impact.
Exactly.
And so just, making sure that everyone knows there's not a negative stigmatization to negative stigma towards mental health. It's just when we don't know is when we start to cause harm, right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So is there anything else you would like to share with us? I know I gave you a lot of questions. I'm sorry.
Just that, again, my name is Maribeth Knight. I'm running for School Board District 6, and early voting is going on right now. It ends on the 27th, and the actual voting day is March the 5th. I would love for people to get out there and vote, and, let's get some parents in here so we can make some good changes and, pay attention to our children and our teachers' mental health.
Okay, so for those who are not really familiar with the districts, can you please inform them what schools that you cover?
I cover, there's a lot. I can't remember all of them, but I do cover the Rossview complex, the
Northeast.
the Northeast. I know the Clarksville High School.
Right, so that would be Richview,
Richview.
and Moore Magnet.
Yes.
And then I have
St.
B and Sango. Does Sango fall into
yes,
that?
Sango,
And
Kirkwood.
In St. Bethlehem?
Yes, in St. Bethlehem. I
See,
think
I
I got most of them. I'm trying to remember all of them. I'm in a really big district. So it's county commission districts 1, 2, and 21. So if you know your county commission districts, then that will help you out a little bit.
Okay. And so as we wrap up, I usually end with, you have a question for me, but then I also have these great envelopes that have questions attached, and they're just for fun.
Okay.
So do you have any questions for me?
I do not.
Okay. Well, here you go. You get to pick a question.
Okay. That one.
Just open the flap and you can read the question. If you could read my handwriting, if not, I'll read it.
You meet your 18-year-old self today. What are 3 words you would tell yourself? Narrow it down to 3 words. Love yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a main thing for me. It's just loving yourself. Be proud. It's more than 3 words, but no regrets, just lessons learned.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be
thank
my
you so
things.
much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
It's gonna be real smooth like Gary Coleman.